After the break, could Brixton Academy lose its licence for good? Plus, tributes to chat show legend Jerry Springer, who's died today. Tonight, could Brixton Academy be closed for good? A friend of one of the victims of the crowd crush in December is backing calls for the venue's licence to be revoked permanently.
There was 2 females died that night and their families are never going to be the same.
Also ahead, a chat show legend has died. He was famously born inside a London tube station, remembering presenter Jerry Springer, who's died at the age of 79. Hugh Grant's day in court. The actor claims the son broke into his home and bugged his phones to generate stories. Beekeeper Brian is buzzing about getting his hives back. The incredible story of goodwill after vandals killed off his hobby. Good evening. When 2 people lost their lives during a crush at a gig at Brixton Academy, concerns about crowd safety were put into the spotlight. The serious questions it faced about whether the venue did enough to keep people safe saw the council suspend the venue's licence for 3 months. But as that period has come to a close, the police this week announced they want to look at ways of getting it revoked forever. And tonight, a close friend of autism awareness campaigner Rebecca Ikumelo, who lost her life last December, has told ITV News she supports the idea of a permanent licence suspension. A warning, Helen Keenan's report contains footage from the incident.
In terms of parents with children with additional needs, how's your mental health this month, this week? How are you feeling?
This was Rebecca's passion, raising awareness of autism on social media while caring for neurodivergent children of her own. Next, she was going to launch a podcast with her friend on the subject.
This is the first time I've been in this room since the last time I was in here was with Rebecca.
But Rebecca's life was taken away at a crush at this concert at Brixton Academy, along with security worker Gabby Hutchinson.
Do you think the licence should be taken away permanently?
Definitely. They had a duty of care to all of the concert goers that night and they didn't fulfil that. So, yeah, if you can't do, your job, then it should be removed.
The Academy Music Group has had its licence suspended for 3 months. The Met are still investigating the incident, but have already called for the council to revoke the licence, who are carrying out their own health and safety review.
Great picture.
Yeah, it was a nice picture, yeah.
Speaking in the weeks following Rebecca's death, her family called for justice. Rebecca's friend says the licence holder should face criminal charges.
What would justice look like for you?
I feel like the people who are responsible for that venue should face criminal charges. There was 2 females died that night and their families are never going to be the same. They went to a concert and didn't come home.
We spoke with Keely at a session for children with autism at Mango Studios in Finsbury Park, helping with their development by using VR technology. It's where her and Rebecca were going to record their podcast that she plans to continue, inspired by her friend's legacy.
Remember Rebecca, remember what she was here to do and honour that in the best way that we can.
Well, Helen's here now. Helen, what has Brixton Academy had to say about this?
Well, we contacted the Academy Music Group, who said they continue to be devastated by the tragedy and that they want to pass on their heartfelt condolences to Rebecca and Gabby's family and friends. Now, in terms of that Met Police recommendation to terminate their licence, they said, we have had regular meetings and discussions with the Metropolitan Police and Lambeth Council, at which we have presented detailed proposals that we believe will enable the venue to reopen safely. Now, AMG has been awaiting feedback on those proposals for several weeks and looks forward to hearing from the police as soon as possible in constructive terms. Now, that review of the licence won't be decided by the Met. That's going to be looked at by the council, and they're going to go through a formal process on that. And their next meeting, where they will discuss it, is on the 15th of May. OK, thanks very much indeed, Helen. Next, he was a chat show legend who entertained audiences right across the globe. Tonight, it's been confirmed that Jerry Springer has died at the age of 79 at his home in the United States. He was famously born inside one of London's tube stations during the war and frequently returned to his home city to perform on stage and present on the radio. Our correspondent Simon Harris looks back at his life.
Hello. Hey, welcome to the show.
When Jerry Springer's show was imported from America, British viewers had seen nothing like it. It was always raucous, often outrageous, even violent at times. It was one of the first shows to make stars of dysfunctional members of the public.
Hi, I'm Jerry Springer, and you're listening to Capital Gold Drive.
He found fame in America, but London was always home. In 2004, he was a guest co-host on Capital Gold.
I love it here. I mean, I love London. It's so cosmopolitan. You really get the feeling that you're in the centre of the world when you're here.
It was quite an experience. Firstly, because at that point he probably was the most recognisable person on earth. And he was very known for this sort of shocking show, very controversial show. And he was anything but.
His unlikely birthplace was Highgate Underground Station, where his mum went into labour during an air raid in World War II. The station was being used as a bomb shelter.
I was born on a subway, in the subway tube.
And that was during the war?
Because it was during the war. There were the bomb shelters at the time. There should be a plaque there, that, you know.
There really should. Jerry Springer.
Born here.
Born here,
yeah.
Was here.
In 2003, his controversial TV show inspired an equally controversial West End musical, Jerry Springer the Opera. It won awards, but also sparked protests over its blasphemy and swearing.
And all that jazz.
The real Springer, not an actor, also took to the West End stage in the musical Chicago.
When I sing, people really get involved because they have to guess where the notes were supposed to have been. So we're going to have people shouting out, B flat. That was an A. Hey. Well, you know, I can carry a tune.
He even added pantomime to his repertoire, appearing as the villainous Captain Hook in Peter Pan in Wimbledon in 2010.
Captain Hook is such an outrageous character, and it's so camp.
Jerry Springer had many strings to his bow. Newscaster, talk show host, actor, American icon and proud Londoner.
Hugh Grant has accused the publisher of the Sun newspaper of unlawful acts to obtain stories, which he claims includes breaking into his flat and bugging his phones. The actor from West London appeared at the final day of a hearing at the High Court today. Sam Holder is there for us this evening. And Sam, some remarkable allegations made by Mr. Grant.
Well, that's right, Carolyn. In fact, we've heard extraordinary claims throughout this phone hacking hearing. Earlier this week, Prince Harry talked of secret agreements between Buckingham Palace and the tabloids, and now Hugh Grant has made allegations, really, of far more serious illegal activity than phone hacking. The actor was in court this morning to hear arguments about whether his claim against News Group newspapers, which owns The Sun, should proceed to trial. And in his statement, he claimed that he was bugged, that his home phone line was tapped, and that, most seriously, his flat in London was burgled to order in 2011. He claims he has evidence that The Sun ordered that burglary. He says that the front door of his flat was taken off its hinges, but that nothing was stolen, and a few days later, details about the interior of his apartment was published. Now, if those allegations are proven true, that could lead to a far more serious criminal prosecution. He also claims that he was subjected to unlawful activity by The Sun while he was actually giving evidence at the Leveson inquiry about phone hacking. News Group newspapers deny any unlawful activity, and they say that Hugh Grant and Prince Harry are too late in bringing a claim. It will now be up to the judge here to decide whether those claims should go to trial.
OK, Sam Holder, thanks very much indeed. To some other news now, and 10 people have been arrested on suspicion of murder after a man was stabbed in Brentford. Police were called to a house in Brentwick Gardens in the early hours of yesterday morning after a man was found in the street with serious injuries and later died at the scene. Police have arrested 7 men and 3 women. One resident from the estate told us the attack is very concerning.
It's scary. It's very scary because I've got loads of family on the estate. And lots of the family that I have on this estate have young children that go to the road, go to the school that's called in on, that's basically on the estate. So yeah, pretty scary.
The former Kensington MP Emma Dent-Coad has resigned from the Labour Party after saying it had become unrecognisable. In a video released on social media, the former MP and prominent Grenfell campaigner said it's been a difficult decision and required much soul-searching. She'll sit as an independent councillor for Kensington and Chelsea. More train strikes have been announced for the 12th and 13th of May and the 3rd of June after the union ASLEF rejected a 4% pay rise over the next 2 years. The final date coincides with the FA Cup final, throwing fans' travel plans into disarray, with many having to get to Wembley by road instead of rail. And in the last hour, the RMT union has announced it's rejected a pay offer for its members. Workers for another 14 operators will walk out on May the 13th. Well, the issue of pay caused more disruption for children and their parents across the capital today as teachers held their 4th walkout of the year. In Kennington, some of those who've recently joined the profession and others with decades of experience opened up about the difficulties they face trying to make ends meet in our expensive city. From there, Antoine Allen reports.
Full of voice, but teachers say the government aren't listening to their stories of struggling with rising living costs.
Well, in recent years it's become ridiculously expensive.
Teachers in Kennington joined national strikes after they rejected the government's pay offer. Kojo has been a teacher for over 19 years. During that time, he's seen rising rent, council tax and food costs, all making it harder to remain in schools.
Even postage stamps have gone up by 15%. So how else do you expect you to be able to live and survive comfortably?
Karis has only been teaching for 2 years, but has seen colleagues quit and is uncertain about her own future.
Last year, loads and loads of our colleagues left. I think it's going to be the same again this year. It doesn't really feel that hopeful, and particularly as, I've had a career change and it's a job that I absolutely love, but I don't think it's particularly sustainable.
This month, teachers voted against accepting a pay offer from the government that included salary rises by 4.5% on average next year, alongside a one-off payment of £1,000 for this year.
If schools had to pay those pay increases out of their budgets, they would have to reduce costs, which means losing staff. It basically means that educators, whether that's teaching assistants or teachers, would have to lose their jobs in order to pay for that increase, which isn't tolerable.
The average teacher in London earns around £37,000 a year. With inflation taken into account between 2010 and last year, teacher salaries in England fell by an average of 11%. For most teachers, a 5% real terms fall in salaries is predicted this year.
These teachers, like many across the capital and even the country, are on strike today despite them being in a profession they love. They joined schools in order to help young people, not to be protesters. But they say the reason they're on the picket line today is because they fear for the future of education.
The Institute of Fiscal Studies found salary concerns could be fueling teachers leaving schools for good.
Only 2/3 of teachers stay in the profession after 5 years. So we lose a lot of teachers early on in their career, which is probably related to the fact that we've seen quite big real terms pay cuts over the last 10 years.
The government say strike action is hugely damaging and that they have made a fair and reasonable pay offer to teachers, recognising their hard work and commitment. Antoine Allen, ITV News.
Still to come, we'll have the full weather forecast, plus rebuilding his beehives, the amazing story of goodwill which helped this 82-year-old return to his favourite hobby. Now, every year, more than 200 tonnes of plastic is pulled from the River Thames. Fed up with floating debris, 16-year-old rower Annie Pogosian is getting her club in Hammersmith to collect it. With more rowing clubs in the capital keen to take part, Jay Akpar went to find out more.
We've been here for about 10 minutes. This bag is mostly full.
Let's rewind for a second, because in those 10 minutes, these two picked up bits of plate, an umbrella, and on further inspection, a vape cartridge. That bag, those items are just a drop in the ocean, because 200 tons of plastic alone gets pulled from this river every single year.
Just for a size comparison, that's about 17 double-decker buses, so that's a lot.
That's why Annie founded Tidy, an initiative to clean up the Thames one bottle at a time. As a cox at St Paul's Girls Boat Club, she got sick of rowing through litter.
As rowers, we have access to a lot more of the river for a lot more of the time. Like right here at our club, we can just see rubbish floating in from the water and we can pick it up, prevent it from going back out again.
And you don't have to walk or row too far to see why she and her fellow rowers are so frustrated.
Like 9 out of 10 times you're rowing on the river, you will pass litter. Especially if you capsize on the singles, which I've done quite a few times. It's horrible to be amongst all the rubbish while you're in the river.
And speaking of, where did you get that from?
Just now, actually, we saw it floating around one of the many piles of trash that just float up and down the river.
Float and settle on the banks, causing huge damage to marine life, like the hundreds of thousands of wet wipes that are flushed down the toilet and end up in mountainous piles here when it rains a lot. Part of the problem is London's Victorian sewage system, which simply can't handle the sheer number of people and toilets in the capital. But the other problem is people, which is where Annie comes in.
We've been finding a lot of footballs and basketballs lately, which is a bit weird.
Because she's not just cleaning up the Thames, she's changing minds.
Anytime I'm out on the river with Annie, she'll say, right, Mr. Brown, off you go and fish that out. You know, you want to do it, and I think we all want to say, hey, let's do something about this problem, but it does actually take a little bit of encouragement from seemingly a youngster.
She hopes others take Mr. Brown's lead, so her Saturday workouts involve lots of this and less of this. Jay Akbar, ITV News.
Great work done there by Annie. Well, the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. Here's Mary with the details.
Coming up in the programme, time is running out for Britons to flee the violence in Sudan. The Foreign Secretary says there is no guarantee of further evacuations after a ceasefire officially ends at midnight tonight. Here, a fresh set of rail strikes is announced, including one that will mean trouble for football fans. And the rain in Spain is nowhere to be seen as the country braces for record 40-degree temperatures in April. Join me for more and our own warm weather forecast at 6:30.
Now, they set out to fool Londoners into thinking Charles and Camilla were out rehearsing along the procession route for the coronation today. And it seems a prank organised by a London artist with two royal lookalikes on board a horse-drawn carriage turned some heads as it passed through the streets of London. Daniel Henry has the story.
Doesn't she look absolutely ravishing? Darling wife, don't you think so?
Is this a royal rehearsal?
If it were the King and Queen, would you go over and say hello?
No.
No.
I think that's really cool. I'll go about my business. If Dua Lipa was sitting in that carriage, I'd be running right over.
Or are we all being taken for a ride?
I'm very, hard to say, and happy and emotion, yeah. Nice.
It's hard to tell, and for Alison Jackson, that's the point.
Real? Do you think they're real? Like real. Yes, it looks like real.
She's an artist, and her work is currently on show in central London. But if you look closely at these photos, it's clear that not everything is quite as it seems.
All of these photographs here at the Grove Gallery in New Cavendish Street, and it's fantastic. It's a body of work that I've created about the slimy, deceitful medium of photography over the years. I'm really fascinated in the sort of media manufacture, the media construction of the whole thing, a notion of celebrity and the royals. So I'm creating those images that we've all imagined but never seen before. And this is it, created with lookalikes, people who look like an identikit of the royal family, and I create these images that look real but are not real.
I don't feel like Wendy Crawley anymore when I see the finished outfits. I think, oh, I'm Camilla now. And it's fun. And then I'm pleased to get back to being normal and Wendy Crawley and enjoying my life, different to this. That's to be honest, but it's fun. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago I was at a car boot sale and the people there started laughing behind their stall and I said, what's the matter? Has anybody ever told you you look just like? Yes, Camilla. Loads of them.
Alison says she loves the royal family, and her glossy snaps and Buckingham Palace stunts are designed to make us question our relationship with them. Daniel Henry, ITV News.
Well, when 82-year-old beekeeper Brian Mitchison found 13 of his hives vandalised in Ealing last summer, he was left devastated by the loss of thousands of bees and all of their honey. But after huge public support and dozens of donations to repair what was lost, Brian now says he's ready to restart his hobby again after an amazing response. Sally Williams has been to meet him.
The bees aren't the only things buzzing round here. So Brian, what's your love affair with bees all about? Why do you like them so much?
Just always have. They're so fascinating.
Brian is feeling rather chipper too, and so he should, after an absolute shocker last summer. Brian had been away from his hives in Greenford, West London, for a few weeks with COVID. When he returned, 13 of them had been destroyed by vandals.
The frames were on the floor, just everything upturned.
All wrecked?
All wrecked.
How many bees, therefore, do you reckon you lost?
I don't know, but a full hive, there's about 60,000 bees in each hive.
So 60,000 times 13,
yeah,
do the
well,
maths.
I did it by 10, I said about 500,000.
500,000
But-
bees, my goodness, that's
So
awful.
some might not have been totally full. And yeah, there's some honey there.
Oh, lovely. I know they're only tiny, but what must it have felt like for them?
Well, it's just some sort of monster was attacking them.
Now, unless the people or person who did this had a get-up like this, with 500,000 bees floating around, they must have got stung to pieces. And I have to say, seeing how lovely they are, hello you, it's rather hard to feel sorry for them. Bee equipment and bees don't come cheap, so Brian put out a call for help. And he's now had more than £5,000 in donations, which have helped him replace the broken hives and buy more bees. So do you have sort of a message for the people that did this, and a message for the people that helped you?
Well, the only message is I hope they got stung and don't do it again, please. And the people that helped me, thank you very much. And, you know.
Long live the bees.
Exactly.
Brian won't let this put him off beekeeping. For one thing, the honey is worth it, and so are its precious little makers. Sally Williams, ITV News, Greenford.
A reminder of some of the headlines in London tonight. A friend of Rebecca Ikumelo, who died in a crush at the Brixton Academy in December, has joined calls for it to have its licence revoked. The Met Police told Lambeth Council it had lost confidence in the venue earlier this week. Rebecca's business partner says she wants to continue the autism campaigning they were working on together and thinks the venue should be held accountable for the loss of her friend.
The people who are responsible for that venue should face criminal charges. There was 2 females died that night and their families are never going to be the same. They went to a concert and didn't come home and they would never have known that. So, yeah, they definitely need to be held to account.
Well, the spokesperson for the venue's owners, Academy Music Group, said they've cooperated with police and the council since the tragedy. And tributes have been paid to TV chat show legend Jerry Springer, who's died at the age of 79. He famously was born in Highgate Tube Station while it was used as a shelter during the war.
I remember being told, we've got a special guest presenter and you're going to co-host with them for 1 week on drive time. I normally did breakfast. And it was Jerry Springer, and it was quite an experience. Firstly, because at that point he probably was the most recognisable person on earth. And he was very known for this sort of shocking show, very controversial show. And he was anything but.
Now here's the weather for you with Sally.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello, a very good evening to you. I hope you had a lovely day. Now, I love this photo, but two things. Firstly, what is that goose doing? And secondly, that is an incredible number of daisies. I thought it had snowed at first. Anyway, we have got a bit of a wet evening to come. And then over the next few days, a lot of dry weather, but there are a few showers here or there. But the main talking point is that things are getting warmer. Now, thankfully, not quite as warm as parts of Spain and North Africa, but it is going to improve for us. Here's the temperature difference. Highs of 13 or 14 today compared to highs of 19 or 20 over the weekend. The only thing to note is that on the east coast, we could develop some sea breezes, which will just make things a little bit cooler there. Right, on to the detail for tonight then. So we have got rain outside and some heavy bursts at times, bit of surface water on the roads. Behind that rain, that cloud lowering, and there could well be some mist and murk around, maybe even still a few spots of drizzle by the end of the night. Our temperatures, though, not too chilly. Some areas in the towns and cities staying up in double figures. So as I said, not too cold first thing tomorrow morning, but a bit dull and grey to start the day. But we will see things brighten up, and into the afternoon, hopefully a few sunny spells poking through. A few rogue showers here or there, but most areas holding on to that dry weather, and our temperatures reaching highs of 17 to 19 with a little bit of a breeze. And so if you've got the option, it could be a good one to get some washing out. And you won't be very happy with me if you catch a shower, will you? And then as we head into Friday evening, well, hopefully that cloud continues to break up and we should have a nice evening to come. So into the weekend, there will be some showers, as I said, perhaps a higher risk as we go through into Monday. The temperatures doing very well indeed. That's it. I'll see you later on. Cheerio.
ITV London Weekday Weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
And that's it from us. The ITV News at 6:30 is up next with Mary. But for now, from all of us on the London team, enjoy your evening. Goodbye.